Ladies and sinners, welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. We're back at it again, folks. Back at it again on a Tuesday evening. Took a couple-week hiatus with permission from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Larry B. We're back at it, folks, because guess what? It's training time. Training camp is underway. NFL training camp looks exciting. NFL Network's going off on every single training camp, overblowing every single play that they see. That's what NFL training camp on NFL Network does. But, hey, Raiders are having a really good training camp so far, and it's really encouraging. One thing I would say is we are not getting any kind of news on the quarterback battle, period. They're like just kind of keeping mum's the word, man. They're acting like, oh, the competition's even. You got players saying one thing, you got coaches saying another. It's all, blah. I'm sure they just want to keep it coy until the first game of the season. A lot going on. We're going to touch base on the Las Vegas Lady Aces because they are still third place. Third place in the Western Conference, and they are still roaring. Aja Wilson's absolutely going off. She's got to be the front runner for the MVP. I have no idea how she wouldn't win the MVP at this point with her stats, and we'll go over that here in a moment. The Golden Knights are having a bit of an off season. I don't know if it's a great one or not. We'll kind of touch base on that a little bit. They lost a lot of players from that Stanley Cup team. A lot of players. And it's tough to recover when that happens. Absolutely tough to recover. But it's Las Vegas. It's the Golden Knights. So, I mean, think about it like this. In the 6-7 years they've been in existence, they're a contender every single year. So that is something you can always hold on to. They seem to always add, subtract players, do a great job of building a roster. And they still kept some main ones on the roster, but let's be honest. Barchesall was a big loss. We're going to talk UNLV football. UNLV football is kicking off in about 4 weeks. 4 weeks. A little over 4 weeks for that matter. And they could be a different team. They were a pretty damn good team last year, right? Barry Odom was their new head coach last year. They had a pretty good season. I think they went 8-4, 8-5. Not bad for a first year. And UNLV, honestly, the Mountain West is not super tough. So as long as they recruit well enough to compete against their specific conference, shouldn't be an issue. Shouldn't be an issue at all. We're going to touch base on them for sure because they deserve the love. And we also know that Max Crosby and Warren Sapp and Raiders players have been in attendance at UNLV camps. So that's pretty cool too. Imagine that kind of access if you're a UNLV player. That'd be awesome to see Max Crosby, one of the best defensive players, period, showing up to your practice. It has to be encouraging. And then you already know, guys, we got to dive into our Raiders. Got to dive into them Raiders, man. Talk training camp. Got to talk about our outlook and give a huge shout out to 8 divisions in 8 days. That episode I had with Larry B. here on the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to another edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. You guys can get at us. Get at us on our Twitter forums, at SinCity_IESR, at Kayle_Henderson. And don't worry, you can follow us on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to make Elon Musk mad and cancel us, so we'll go ahead and say X. IG, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at IE Sports Radio. You guys could also go to IESportsRadio.com. IESportsRadio.com has every single show here from the station. You guys have an opportunity to like, follow, take a look at all my teammates who kick ass, take names. Shout out to Ralph, by the way. Ralph from the Yinzer Report had almost 600 viewers tonight. Apologies. Over 900 viewers. That's crazy, man. 900 viewers in the first half hour of the show, and he kept steady. We're at 22. I'm hoping we can change that, Some of that's on me. I got to be more consistent. That won't be a problem moving forward. But guess what, guys? This is going to be a fun show. because we have a lot of things coming down the pipeline. All right. I am currently looking at StreamYard has whiteboard. They have whiteboard apps. I can pull up the whiteboard. We can etch a sketch. I'll give you guys some samples next week if you guys want. Kind of show you an overview of what we're going to be looking at, starting with the first preseason game. Maybe show you guys a highlight. Say, hey, this is the play that happened here. This is why I think it works so well. And then the don'ts, right? The do's and the don'ts, however you want to put it. Because with the good, there has to be bad, right? Or with the bad, there has to be good. So we'll show you guys a bad play, where things weren't executed very well, why things broke down. And being Raiders fans, we have a lot of those. We unfortunately have a lot of those negative plays. So we're definitely going to add that to our arsenal here at IE Sports Radio or the Sin City Sports Show, which I think is going to make us unique. I don't know if any other show is going to be doing that. I don't know if anybody other show is going to have the same, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but the football IQ aspect. I've studied football for almost 2 decades, man, more. And I'm obsessed with it. I go to multiple clinics a year. It's just kind of the thing I do, man. It's eat food. Obviously, look at me. It's eat food. It's lifting. It's football, and pretty soon going to be a kid. That's going to be my life. That's it. So, lot to talk about tonight, though, on today's show. Las Vegas Lady Aces, we're going to touch base on them. You guys know how it is. We have to give our love to the Lady Aces because they're going for a three-peat. They're third in the Western Conference. We have to touch base on them. Golden Knights, their season preview. We're 71 days out from the first NHL game. 71 days. I didn't just pull that up my arse. All right, 71 days. I saw it on a headline. It's real life stuff. We're going to see the puck drop in Vegas in 71 days, right? With the new look team for that matter. UNLV Rebels, also a new look team, different quarterback. We might see rotation at quarterback. We know Barry Odom was very good on defense last year, much better than what we'd seen in the year before under Coach Arroyo. Big difference, man. Big difference. We'll be talking about the defending national or high school national champions, Bishop Gorman, next week. Yeah. Listen, Bishop Gorman is one of those feeder schools, man. I feel like they're a recruiting farm, right? At this point, like they're killing it, and they're always nationally ranked. So we definitely need to start giving them more love. Thank you for the reminder on that, Larry B. I love it, man. Especially being that Vegas has a multitude of high school football teams, and the fact that they have a nationally ranked one is legit. We're also going to touch base on how UNLV camp's going. They had some surprise visitors, and then Raiders training camp here on IE Sport or Sin City Sports by Sports Radio. You guys already know how it goes. I had a brain fart there. All right. I sell internet for a living, and I was buffering there. I have to admit it. I was absolutely buffering there. So real quick, guys, before we get into the Las Vegas Lady Aces, we have a word from our sponsors, right? Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, a jerky that's on a whole other level, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. here on IE Sports Radio. This is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Welcome back, ladies and sinners. Back from the break. We got to give a shout out to our sponsors. You guys know how it is, man. They pay the bills. They make it so we can just sit here, have a good time, talk sports, talk shit. I'm good at that. That's all I'm good at. Got a PhD in talking shit. But hey, it is what it is, man. We all have talents. Shout out to Planet Jerky. I believe they still have the deal going on. You buy a bag of Planet Jerky premium brisket beef jerky, and you post it on IG, and you tag IE Sports Radio, you'll get a whole other bag. Might not be the same flavor, right? We've talked about it, guys. They got the hot ones. They got the hot ones. So hot that you got to drag your ass through a swamp to put out that butt fire, right? We got that kind of hot, right? We also got sweet teriyaki. I mean, they got all kinds of flavors, guys. When you guys get a chance, make sure you guys go to Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, because it is jerky that's on a whole other planet. Order here at planetjerky.net. Okay. If you folks need, if you are looking for invitations, if you're looking for really, really cool ways to spice up your invitations or thank you cards or anything for that matter, make sure you guys check out on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax seals. To Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B, where she makes custom made wax stamps. It'll make things look really cool, really official. You guys remember those scenes in Game of Thrones where they put the fire up to that stamp, and then they stamp's like, I'm a Targaryen, bah. You know, my word is God or whatever. Otherwise, my dragon will eat you alive. That type of stuff is what Cecilia does. She just sits in her dungeon. That's what she does. Stamp of approval. That would be epic. I hope she isn't listening to this. I don't want to die, even though she lives in California. Anyway, guys, make sure you guys check that out. It would be a nice touch to what you got going on. We're transitioning over to the Lady Aces. Speaking of strong ladies, the Lady Aces, also not as strong as Cecilia, but still strong ladies. Lady Aces, still doing their thing. Third in the Western Conference, all right? I get it, man. It's weird for us to say that, right? Because they've just been absolutely dominating the WNBA for the last couple of years. It's been a slot, I don't know, mollywops that everywhere. Everyone, they're like Oprah with ass whoopings. You get an ass whooping, everybody gets an ass whooping. That's what it was like for the Lady Aces playing the WNBA, okay? And there were some injuries earlier this year. The changeover in teams also tends to affect you. There's no way around that. When you have free agency, when you're winning championships, players want to get paid. And they did lose a couple players. Like there were a couple players lost to LA Sparks. You know, I mean, it just tends to happen when you win games, when you win championships, teams want your players and they will pay them. That's just the way it is. The fact that they're still in third place is incredible. I do believe, and I say it like this, guys, Aja Wilson's having the most unbelievable year, unreal year. Okay. Wilson's going off. She's averaging 27.2 points a game, so just over 27 points a game. Last we talked about the Lady Aces, it was a little over 28, so it's slightly declined, but I think a lot of that has to do with they're in the meat of their schedule. Like that reality, they're in the meat of their schedule. But the impressive thing is the fact that she's averaging almost 12 rebounds a game. 12 rebounds a game. That's badass. And thank you, Larry. That's a great reminder. Guys, thank you so much for tuning the show. Jen, Show the Land. Really appreciate you chiming in. Taryn Rodriguez, baby. Taryn is the man, the myth, the legend. Taryn is always involved. And thanks to Taryn, he actually gave us a little bit of an update. UNLV, women's sports, right? We need it. Women's volleyball. They'll be playing notable opponents this year, such as Northwestern, Rice, Cal Poly, Hawaii, USC, and LMU. Larry, you're going to have to help me out with LMU. You're going to have to just put it out on the screen. I need to know. I have to be educated tonight. Okay? That's crazy. LMU, how are you going to do that to me, Taryn? All right? I don't take back everything I ever said about you being the greatest teammate ever. I'm just saying. Mr. Cowboy, sup, yo-yo? Oh, man. Cowboys fans. You know, I appreciate you joining the show, brother. You can be as critical as you want to be of me, but Cowboys, come on, bro. Come on. I can't wait for you guys to get into the playoffs and get bounced in the first round like you always do. Like, that's just the Cowboys thing to do. Hey, but you know what? At least you get to the playoffs. Know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm burning my own team. That's just part of the frustration. 20 years of frustration. Back to the lady aces. So when you look at efficiency, you have to put in terms of here's the deal. You have the big three. You have AJ Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young. They're absolutely killing it. Chelsea Gray has not been she hasn't been as prominent this year because of injuries. Been banged up. But Chelsea Gray has been one of those that's come in off the bench or been that fourth player while on the court, and that they have some of their best games when the four of them are up and running. Tiffany Hayes has come out of nowhere this year. But realistically, I mean, Chelsea Gray is really low. Last year, I think she was averaging close to 19 points a game. This year, she's at 7.3. Injuries are injuries, guys. That's what happens. And I'll say it like this. We've talked about it a few times here on the show. When you go deep in the playoffs, it's that, like, I don't know, it's just an effect, man. When you go deep in the playoffs, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, when you go deep in the playoffs multiple years in a row, that's wear and tear, man. It is extra reps that the bums sitting at home don't get. They get paid, but they don't have to worry about those reps. These are reps that are wear and tear, and they're meaningful reps, so you know people playing harder. Imagine hockey, right? Imagine hockey real quick. You just played a grueling 82-game schedule, and then you got to turn around and play in the playoffs, and you have to go 7-game series with that. That's crazy to me. So you're talking about 60 extra, more than that. Yeah, 60 extra minutes. 60 extra minutes per game. That's a lot of minutes, man. That's a lot of ice time. And same with the WNBA. I mean, you're talking about a team that won 2 straight years in a row. So they've spent more time in the league than anybody else, any other team, on the court, taking rebounds, running back and forth, hustling to plays. Like, that's wear and tear. So sooner or later, something like that's going to happen. That just seems to be the theme in Vegas sports, by the way. It feels like Vegas sports are just really good. They're in a great spot right now, but then all of a sudden injuries happen. And what can you do? I mean, that's sports in general. You see it at the high school. You see it at all levels, really. But that seems to be plaguing the Lady Aces this year. And I wouldn't say plaguing because they're still in third place. You got to be excited about that if you're the Lady Aces, because they have a ton of playoff experience, and they're going to be a team that you don't want to mess with. And I'll put it like this. The Chiefs don't get the number 1 seed every single year. They don't. But they find ways to win in the playoffs. That's all the Lady Aces have to do. And when you are being led by almost the surefire MVP at this point, I don't know how you get away with it, but the surefire MVP at this point, AJ Wilson, I just don't know how you do it. Adam Karnick tunes into the show. What's up, man? Good evening to you. Adam Karnick, actually, we're going to be giving him a shout out here soon. Chi-Town Weekly, right? He's also the host of the Neutral Zone. So Adam's a busy guy here. Unfortunately, he's a Chicago Bears fan. I don't know if you noticed this, and I think you'll get this, Adam, but one of your players was excused from training camp to go watch his girlfriend or his wife in the Olympics, Simone Biles. The only team in the NFL that would allow that to happen is the Bears, because they know they suck. Okay? Just being honest with you. The only team in the NFL that would allow that to happen is the Bears. Would excuse a player. All right? I don't even know the guy's name. I don't care. I'm just telling you, that's some shit. All right? That just tells you where your team's going to be. I hope Caleb paints his nails for you. But love to see you in here, Adam. I had to give you a little bit of crap. It feels like it's been a while since we've had a conversation. Moving over to Golden Knights season preview. I mean, when you look at the Golden Knights, they were kind of ravaged, man. Free agency just kind of killed them. There's just really no way to put it. Again, this is the effect of winning. This is what happens when you're a team that's just really good. You've been successful for 6 seasons. You had one season where you didn't make the playoffs. You have a Stanley Cup title just a season and a half ago, right? Adam chimes in. LOL, the only organization classy enough to let him go support his wife as she kicks ass and takes names in Paris. Yeah, a team that's not planning on being in the playoffs, Adam. Come on, man. No, you're right though. That was the right move by the Bears for sure. Because Simone's going to be one of the most decorated Olympians of all time. I mean, especially for her sport, it's not easy. Gymnastics is, whew, boy, I'm telling you, gymnastics is nuts. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Kel, sounds like he'll still stick him up. Cowboys, Bears, go get him. Oh yeah, right. You talking about from the 8 divisions in 8 days? Stick it to him. Period. Man, mine wasn't even that bad, other than the fact that we made fun of Chiefs fans a little bit for being family members. But mine wasn't even that bad. We know the Donkeys suck. The Chargers are going to be really good. Chiefs are probably going to win the division, maybe even a 3rd Super Bowl, which would make me absolutely sick. So there wasn't much I could say, Ralph. Wasn't much I could say. Golden Knights. So here's the thing, man. I think that when you have an off season where you lose a guy like Marc Gasol, who's been around since the beginning, and he's a huge scorer, you have to find a way to replace that. It's not that easy. You can't just say, hey, replace a guy like Marc Gasol, who is so effective on the Nets. Like, there's just no way around it. Like, Marc Gasol was fantastic. He's always like first or second or sometimes third in scoring, right? Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, Marc Gasol, right? And it was back and forth. You just never knew. During the playoff run, during their Stanley Cup run, he went off. Like, he had a goal almost every single game. That was something that was being touted almost the entire Stanley Cup playoff, was how well Marc Gasol played. And when you lose him, that's tough. That's super tough. So you have to replace that production. Did you get to keep Jack Eichel? Yes. Do you still have Mark Stone? Absolutely. But your team just isn't the same as it used to be. And you really need to hope that the guys that are still on the roster step up. Right? The Pacific Division isn't going to get easier. It's not. Edmonton's going to be back. They still have that stud Connor McDavid, Nugent Hopkins. They have Draisaitl. I mean, they're still absolutely loaded in Edmonton. Okay. Calgary seems to be a team that, I don't know, somehow they get 100 points a year. It's kind of crazy. But they come out of nowhere. They do it. I'm telling you, Seattle's not going to mess around. Seattle's coming. That first year in the playoffs was epic, man. I had never seen, that place was roaring. It was going off. Seattle was really, really cool to see. But Seattle's not going to be laying back because I think they're going to get better. They had a bunch of assets that they were able to grab that first year or that first draft. And sooner or later, that minor league has got to step up. Edmonton just signed Stan Bowman to take over as GM too. Okay, what are your thoughts on that then, Adam? Give me a grade on that and why that's important to you. And I'd be happy to talk about that, especially because they're a Pacific Division. I see Cecilia walking back there. Tell her to chill. Anyway, yeah, just give me a note on why signing Bowman's a huge deal as far as roster construction and things like that. But, I mean, they don't really need a lot of help. Edmonton's a really good team. The Ducks are probably going to be crap. But they were a team that's growing. They weren't the same team from a few years ago. So the Golden Knights aren't going to be just sitting there. The Kings got really well. I mean, they improved tremendously as well. So Golden Knights are in a situation where they could be looking at being the 3rd or 4th best team in the division, even if they, still stay as competitive as we expect them to be on a consistent basis. Jack Eichel has to go off. Mark Stone has to somehow find a way to get younger and keep life in them legs, because I think he was dealing with some injury issues late last year before getting into the playoffs. Mark Stone is a huge piece as the captain of that team. You need more production from Mark Stone. That's what's going to have to happen. If you're going to replace a Brad Marchessault, you have to find a way to replace that production. It's almost like the Moneyball effect, right? You got to find a way to replace those guys. There's no way around it. they're big pieces, and you tend to develop your team around them and your game plans and what you do. Power plays, lineups, talent matters, man. And listen, it's going to be a more wisely constructed roster based on the salary cap hits. But when we ask, are they going to be better than last year's team? It's really hard to say that. I would say no. I'm going to say no right now. I hate saying no because I want the Golden Knights to keep going. I think their fans are ravenous, and it's great to watch them during home games. But I'm being realistic. It's going to be extremely difficult for the Golden Knights to be a better team. Better team this year. And it wouldn't surprise me that there's some folks that believe that this is the downfall of the Golden Knights. Like, we're going to start seeing a downward trend because the Golden Knights have been one of those teams that hasn't been afraid to take risks in the offseason, trade away assets, trade away players. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense to me when you look at it from that point of view. The Golden Knights are going to have a lot to show. They're going to need to develop pretty quickly, and we'll see who comes up too. Comes up to the roster and makes a contribution. They should have a pretty decent or pretty deep minor league at this point, or in farm system where these kids, because there's a lot of kids, man. A lot of these guys are getting drafted at 17, 18 years old now. It's crazy, and especially in NHL. Are they getting enough time to develop in the minors? You would hope so, right? You would hope so. But are the Golden Knights going to be better this season? No, I don't think so. I could be proven wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong because that's just better for us here on the show. But just being realistic with you guys on that. The Golden Knights have a lot to live up to. I know that they have two really strong guys on their roster still. But that's Marchessault was a tough loss. He really was. And he was a lot of fun to watch for the Golden Knights as well. So we'll see what happens. I'm optimistic, but I'm being honest with you guys. I just don't think it's going to be a better season. We're going to take a quick break here. We're going to play drops for our great teammates, the Yinzer Report with Ralph Kayle, and then Chi-Town Weekly with Adam Karnick here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Kayle, the host of the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Yinzer Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold. Have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Kayle, the Yinzer Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Karnick, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Ladies and sinners, welcome back to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by Esports Radio. We're back halftime, if you will. This is back from halftime, if you will. We're here to talk about Vegas sports, hashtag #IEVegas. And with that said, you guys can catch us on our Twitter forums at SinCity_IESR, at Kayle_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. You guys can check out IESportsRadio.com, check out our teammates, check out the shop, get merch, man. Buy some merch. Support the show. That's just the best way to keep this type of content going. And it's basically free content. I mean, let's be honest. As far as bang for your buck, you're not going to find any better. What we ask for is donations to keep us going, because that's the way to go. Buy some merch, support the show, support my teammates, these lovely people in the chat. By the way, Alden, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it, man. Really, really appreciate it. And I believe that's Drewski, right? Would be Drewski in there, Mr. Cowboy? No? Gotcha. I know Drewski hosts the Heart of Texas show. Got to give him some love. He chimes in here from time to time. UNLV, folks. UNLV. Believe it or not, they have a football team. They really do. They're part of the Mountain West Conference. They've had an interesting offseason. They're led by Barry Odom, who is going into his second year as the head coach. What are we looking for this year, right? I mean, isn't that what we're kind of thinking? What are we looking for? It's going to be a new team. It's not going to be the same kind of team. There's a possibility that we see a bit of a quarterback battle. There's a possibility that we see a senior start. I'm on the fringe with that, man. I would love to see a freshman get reps early, especially if you're a team that you're just not sure if they're going to, beat the brakes off of other teams in the Mountain West. When you look at the Mountain West, I mean, it's not a super hard, it's top heavy is what I should say. It's very top heavy, the Mountain West is. So how do you combat that, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. You got to recruit better. It looks like they have nothing but 3 stars. Nothing but 3 stars or better, it seems like. Actually, it's 3 stars, a couple 2 stars, but for the most part, 3-star recruits, which is a good spot to be if you're UNLV. I mean, you're a group of 5, if that's what you want to call it anymore. Because I'm sure they'll be part of the Pac-12 one day when they recreate that. Something. It's very possible. I'm calling it now, Larry. Make sure you guys note that at 9:53 p.m. on 7:30. I called that and I should get a share of that deal. I'm just kidding. It's probably gonna be like pennies. Because the Pac-12 is the 8-12 at this point. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at as far as the overall teams are looking. Let's see here. Looking at the Mountain West Conference a little bit more. I'm actually Mountain West, Fresno State. Their team, I wouldn't say is a team that's just going to be someone you can walk all over. Utah State is sneaky decent. You think that they'd be a bit more competitive considering that they compete directly with Utah in themselves. So here's the thing to think about. You have Utah State, you have Utah Utes, and you have BYU. 3 major universities in one state. That's kind of crazy. And you wouldn't think of that because it's just a mountainous state. Like there's not really a lot of, I don't know, it's not a lot of landscaping. Boise State, I have no idea how we forget about the blue field. They're always a really good team. They're always punching you in the face. Let's be honest. When you guys play NCAA 25, you're picking the blue field. You're playing on it every once in a while. There's just something about playing on a blue turf field. I don't know. I also find it hilarious that those guys, the Smurf turf. Yeah. I love that. The Smurf turf. That's hilarious. Minidar, what books do you play at in Vegas? I guess you're talking about gambling. I have a feeling you're talking about gambling a little bit, my man. If we're going to be honest, I rarely gamble. And if I do, it's on a small website where I know a friend is the bookie and I can trust I get my money. So I tend to stay away from the books. But if I'm going to bet anything, it's usually football. And it's usually futures or I mean, money lines. I try to stick with money lines. I think a few years back, I got kicked in the ass by betting on college football, and I was doing spreads quite a bit. And man, definitely less than 50% take rate on those parlays. And I'm one of those dumbasses where I'm like, I'm going to load up, I'm going to do a 16 parlay. Now, sometimes they hit, and when they do, it's over 2 grand. Bet $50, win over 2 grand. It's kind of a cool return. But as far as like books, I can't really do that, man. I can't think about that. I got a kid on the way. If I start gambling, I'm probably going to be missing some, vital organs for a male. I don't think Lexi's going to play around when it comes to losing money and gambling. When we got diapers to buy, baby food to get. We gotta try and build him a Batman room. I mean, come on, this can be sick. All right, but the Batman room has to happen. So yeah, I don't know about the cooking the books in Vegas, man, but I do appreciate the question because sometimes gambling can be fun, only when it pays off, of course. Let me know, man. Where do you spend your time? Not necessarily the books. Like, which casino do you like to go to? Are there specific sports bars you like to be at? Like, let me know, man. I try to go down there once a year, at least. Just saying. The Smurf Turf. Larry's always dropping dimes in here, man. Colorado State's not going to be a joke. I think they'll be pretty decent. Fresno's always doing really well. A team that I'd love to see like really good again is Hawaii. The Rainbow Warriors. Dude, back when Colt Brennan was slinging it, I don't know if there was a more popular team at the time. They had sick jerseys. I loved the Polynesian print and all of the tattoos on the actual jerseys and stuff. The Polynesian print or the designs. That was a lot of fun to watch. It's unfortunate they got mollywopped by Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. I was holding out for them. But dude, that was a lot of fun to watch. I can't believe Colt Brennan has been gone for a while too. Like passed away. I think he's still the all-time leader in passing yards in college football. And I want to say he had an unbelievable, crazy single season. But Colt Brennan in that run and shoot and air raid offense under June Jones was unbelievable to watch. Super fun. Team I think that's going to be really tough for the UNLV Rebels to beat this year is the San Diego Aztecs, the San Diego State Aztecs. To me, the Aztecs are one of those teams that are going to be sleepers. They have a new head coach. They hired the offensive coordinator from Colorado last year because there was obviously some sort of falling out. I can't tell you why that happened, but it did. There was some sort of falling out. So, I mean, Manny Diaz, I want to say Manny Diaz is one that could be on the move. So SDSU versus UNLV, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Sean Lewis, that is the name of the new head coach at San Diego State. Sean Lewis is a former coordinator for the Colorado Buffalo. He was also a head coach for Kent State, and when he was head coach for Kent State, his offense was ranked second in the nation in efficiency. It's kind of what earned him the job at Colorado. Now, I'm saying second in the nation in terms of the only team that was better than them as far as efficiency. And when they rate efficiency, that is like it's 3rd and 5 and they convert. Like that type of efficiency. Like they constantly moving the ball. The only team that was better than Kent State a couple of years ago when he was the head coach there in the play caller was Alabama. That's it. It's the only team that was better than them. So the fact that San Diego State, which is always known for producing running backs, I don't care what anybody says. It feels like every time I turn around, they got a running back that's running for 1,500 yards, man, in a college season. I'm telling you. And their helmet design is sick. So I have a hard time not like that Aztec helmet design is always dirty. I have a hard time not cheering for them. But UNLV is going to have their hands full this year, man. They're going to have to play some grimy football. What I would like to see UNLV do, and I don't know if this is something Barry Odom is going to look into, but what I'd like to see UNLV do is they have a really strong defense. He brought that over from Mizzou. That's how he got the head coaching job. Mizzou was really solid. I think they won multiple seasons at 9-10 games a year, and a lot of that had to do with the defense and the players he was putting in the NFL. So he got his opportunity to coach at UNLV once Coach Arroyo was let go. in my opinion, I think that they could be more of a downhill run game type team. Being that you're in Vegas, you do have Bishop Gorman down the street, so you're going to get highly touted athletes, the ones that don't get picked up by major schools anyway. Or, I mean, what if they're married to Vegas? What if their family's in Vegas? I hope that's a recruiting ploy. You have a whole new $50 million facility to recruit kids. You might as well take advantage of it, man. That's how the big names are doing it right now. They're just taking advantage of their resources. They're taking advantage of their facilities. I mean, that's huge for kids these days, man. Especially when you walk into dorms. Dorms are getting remodeled. It isn't just the weight room anymore. It isn't just the lounge area. Um, it isn't just the tutoring area. There's a barber shop in almost every single facility for these players these days, which is super smart, by the way. Some folks would say that's a waste of money. I totally disagree. The way I look at it is if the players are on campus, if they're in a place where you can monitor them and there's no chance of them getting in trouble with any kind of school, the law, anything like that. They can be on campus and be comfortable and not have to leave. That's a good situation. You're in a great situation, very comfortable situation. So barbershops, uh, unbelievable food these guys get. I'm telling you, they have nutritionists that feed them. I don't know, dude. And Vegas has a lot of really cool places to go. So I don't know how they're not recruiting more. But the fact that you have nothing but 3 stars is a good sign because there's quite a few teams in the Mountain West. They don't have 3 stars. That's just they just get 2 stars and they build them up. It's the way they do it. So I think UNLV could have a good season. I don't know if we're going to see. I don't know if you're going to see a team like last year. That's tough for me. I'm guessing 6 wins, 6-6, because the Mountain West is really tough, man. I think Boise State's going to be really strong this year. I think San Diego State's coming back with a vengeance. I don't care what anybody says. That run game, when they figure out that run game there in Aztec Stadium, it's kind of tough to play. San Jose was playing really well before they started running into like Washington, the likes of Washington and stuff last year, or Oregon State. It was Oregon State that I watched that game. It was an absolute. Come on, man. I hope that $1 million is worth it because that's just ridiculous, dude. Um, and I wonder. Here's another thing, Larry, and maybe you can chime in on this. Are these group of 5 teams going to stop taking some of these bigger games to get the crap kicked out of them now because they have a chance to get in that 12-team playoff? Are we going to see less of that? Like less of those warm-up games, tune-up games? I kind of like it. Like I don't need to see a team playing Utah Tech. Never even heard of them, by the way. I've driven by their stadium on the way to visiting my grandparents. Never heard of them. It's crazy. UNLV has an interesting game 3, by the way, at Kansas in Lawrence, where Coach Leipold and the Kansas Jayhawks are probably going to lay a whooping because they're a really good football team, really good program right now, growing. Larry says, I would hope the Cupcakes game stop, but that's just I get it, man. The thing I look at is with a 12-team playoff, you're guaranteed to have, these top 4 conferences, right? Big 12, Big 10, ACC, SEC. Those top 4 teams are definitely going to have their champions in there, right? So 1 through 4. It's just how it's going to be. That's how they'll shape it up. I would say the next 4 to 6 are probably going to be teams that are really good that they think that compete. And then you're looking at 2 teams from group of 5 possibly, which would be interesting. Like really interesting. A Boise State sneaking in. I remember the old days where Boise State and TCU were a rivalry. And they were going at it. And they made a New Year's Bowl game, Orange Bowl for that matter. That was sick. Kellen Moore, I think, was the quarterback of the Boise State Broncos then. A lot of fun to watch. I want to say Andy Dalton was the quarterback for TCU. Again, fun games. TCU, Boise State. It would be cool to see Boise State make the Mountain West. It really would. I think that'd be sick. Make the Mountain West championship game and then all of a sudden make it to the playoffs for Mountain West. I think that'd be amazing. That'd be a good setup for Boise State. UNLV, like I said, 6 games. It is what it is. It's not their fault, man. They're still growing. I think that they overachieved last year with 8 wins, 8, 9 wins. We'll see if that continues. but they're getting a ton of attention. Max Crosby and company have been at practices. I mean, they practice right down the street from the Raiders, so super cool. A lot of touring. Warren Sapp even made an appearance. So UNLV is getting some traction. I think that'll help with some recruiting. I hope it does. That'd be super cool. Max Crosby has an affinity for smaller schools. Eastern Michigan guy, man. 4th round guy out of Eastern Michigan. You gotta love it. Gotta love. Speaking of Max Crosby, the Raiders training camp has begun. They are 5 days in, folks. 5 days into training camp. I'll put it like this. The summary I'm getting out of training camp so far, when you look at the beat writers, whether it's Sporting News, Just Blog, baby, when you Raiders Wire, let's see here, Raiders.com, it seems as though the defense is absolutely dominating this camp so far. They had their first day of full pads yesterday. Today was their first day of full pads. It was action-packed. Apparently, it was extremely physical. Hearing great things about guys like Brock Bowers, being that he was the number 13 overall pick, and there were folks questioning why didn't they go after Flaga, the big tackle out of Oregon State. Dude, Brock Bowers is a weapon. I mean, you got Jack Jones, you got safeties coming up saying, dude, this guy's a different guy. He's just a specimen. He's hard to keep up with. He's deceptively fast. Like the guy ran, I think, a 4.4, 4.5 40 as a 6'3", 245, 250 pound man. Like that's moving, man. That's some movement. Big time movement for a guy. So Brock Bowers is getting a ton of love, not just from the defense, but from Devontae Adams and company. Jackson Powers Johnson's extremely physical. That's the other thing I've been reading. Jackson Powers Johnson, the second round pick out of this year's draft, has been absolutely lighting up defensive linemen and providing great competition for them. And Thayer Mumford, I guess he's been having a little bit of a hard time, but this first day in full pads was more of a defensive day. So in a lot of cases, when you're doing drills, just to give you guys heads up, some on specific days, specific sides of the football are probably going to win those drills more often than not. That's how you set that up, right? In this case, it was more of a full pad defensive day. So offensive tackles are limited in what they can do, especially in training camp. You don't want offensive tackles cutting, right? You don't want to risk taking a knee out of your top player, Max Crosby, who just got paid, $30+ million a year, right? So they're limited. It sounds like Thayer Mumford is holding up, and he'll probably end up being the starter, which is something we've been predicting for a while. One of the reasons why I felt like the Raiders weren't going to go right tackle in the draft. A huge reason why they weren't going to go right tackle early in the draft is I thought Thayer, with all of his talent and all the reps he's had over the last couple of years, and with Jermaine Illuminor leaving to the Giants, I felt like there was an opening, man, one that he can compete for. But, they drafted an offensive tackle out of Maryland in the 3rd round. So it's not like things won't happen. There will be a competition. It will be young on that right side, but really promising, man. The quarterback battle, we're getting nothing out of that, man. Like we're hearing, Gardner has some days. We're hearing Aiden O'Connell's had some days. Antonio Pierce is still naming Aiden O'Connell as of right now the starter. Gardner's got to take it from him because Aiden's a guy that I believe Coach Pierce really likes. I believe Coach Pierce is behind him 100%. If he wasn't behind him 100%, I think that the Raiders would have tried to trade up for Jaden Daniels. It's that simple. If Aiden didn't have some sort of favor, right? If the coaching staff didn't really think highly of Aiden, I don't think he'd be the quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels would be the quarterback right now. Or they would have went out and got a guy that they thought was best for the team. Aiden O'Connell right now has an edge. I think it's because of youth, right? Youth plays a factor. I hear people saying, well, Gardner's getting paid more. Yeah, he's going to get paid more. He's a veteran, right? I also look at the statistics. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell had almost the exact same statistics last year. Gardner was just on a much better team. Let's say what it is, man. He wasn't dealing with dysfunction like Aiden had to in his rookie season. And that's also the big glaring point. Aiden has a more live arm. He's got more upside, more potential, right? And if they have the exact same stats, I want to roll with the second-year player and see what he can do. Because we're not going to get any favors, man. The Raiders' schedule is tough. It's super tough this year. Straight up. I don't know. I'm a big fan of playing the schedule as it is, right? But I'm going to be real with you folks. It's a tough schedule. I think I talked about it on eight divisions in 8 days with Larry B there on 3 and Out. Raiders schedule is kind of brutal, and it doesn't help that you're in the same division with the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions. Usually that just makes things a lot harder for you. So just to give you guys kind of an idea of what I'm talking about when I say this is a difficult schedule. And I say it's a difficult schedule because you're looking at this and you're saying majority of these games we're playing against teams that probably have a better quarterback. And I hate to say that. It's nothing against Aiden. We're just going up against guys that are more experienced. Game 1, September 8th, at Los Angeles Chargers. So a really talented, fresh, off of injury, under a new system, Justin Herbert. The only thing that's working in the Raiders' favor in this game as of right now is Justin Herbert is going through a whole new system. Now, by the same token, Luke Getsy and the Raiders' offense is too. But the defensive coordinator stayed the same for the Raiders. So that gives them a bit of an advantage. I think the defense is actually going to be extremely salty this year. Really excited. How about this? Your next game is the Ravens in Baltimore. Every time we go to Baltimore, dude, I swear it's a lopsided victory for the Ravens. Like, I want to say that it was like 59-20 one year. It was so bad. Like, absolute mollywop. There's just something about the Raiders. They're horrible when they travel to the East Coast. They struggle mightily. And I don't know if that's because of when they leave. Is there lag? There shouldn't be. Different time zone. Just saying. Carolina Panthers, that should be a win. Realistically, when you compare rosters, the Carolina Panthers should be a win. That'll be the first home game on September 22nd. You have the Browns at home. Guys, Kevin Stefanski is one of the most underrated coaches in the NFL right now. If you guys don't think the Browns are coming and they're going to play hard, you're crazy. Nick Chubb is back. That offensive line is always stacked. They now have 2 receivers in Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper from Alabama that are still very good receivers. And Deshaun Watson, I mean, if he's reliving his glory days, we're all in trouble. I'm just saying. If he's in a dark room with a towel on him and he's reliving his glory days, we're all in trouble. Deshaun Watson could take over the league. You don't know. Especially under that offense. Kevin Stefanski's offense is great. Next game is against the Broncos. I think we win that game. I think we continue our streak. It'll be 9 straight victories over the Denver Broncos. Following game is October 13th against Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson's been dealing with a nagging calf injury, and it sounds like Justin Fields has been absolutely going off, according to Ralph. I was listening to this show for a little bit this morning. Justin Fields has really shown out in his training camp. And that's kind of a scary thought because he's on a really, really cheap deal for the Steelers. The Steelers could get a ton of production out of him for that price point. The Rams at Los Angeles, the Rams, same stadium, but we're playing possibly a healthy Matthew Stafford. I hope not, because Matthew Stafford, when healthy, is probably one of the more dangerous quarterbacks in the league. But Matt Stafford will likely be healthy week 7 coming at it. Then we're in Arrowhead. We're at home against the Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champs. At Cincinnati with the healthy Joe Burrow. Bye week 10. That's a brutal first stretch, by the way, guys. Like, when you look at that first stretch, I see 2 or 3 wins maybe. Two or three wins unless we squeeze one out against like the Browns. I don't know. That might be it. The Browns, maybe the Steelers because of the quarterback carousel, maybe the Rams if Matt Stafford isn't healthy. But I'm just being realistic with you guys. I see 2 or 3 wins right there. Final stretch of the season, you're going 2 at Miami, which again, we play terrible at East Coast, and we're playing the Miami Dolphins. And I think the last few times we played the Miami Dolphins in Miami, we've gotten mollywopped. Again, it's an East Coast thing. Denver, I think we continue that streak. Kansas City, that's at Arrowhead on November 29th. Of course, it's a colder game. Why wouldn't Kansas City get away with that? December 8th at Tampa Bay. What an interesting game. Falcons are coming to town, coming to Vegas. Jaguars are coming to Vegas at the New Orleans Saints against our former quarterback, Derek Carr, franchise leader, Derek Carr. And then the Chargers game, the very last Chargers game, is TBD, to be determined. Here's why I think that is. There are some optimists that believe that the Raiders could be vying for a playoff position towards the end of the season. Based on that schedule I gave you guys, do we actually think so? Let's be honest. I think we're going to be a tough, hard-nosed team that plays really good defense and runs the football. I feel like we're going to be another iteration of the Colts. You know what I'm saying? Like, is there a ton of firepower on offense from the passing game? Probably not. We'll see. I would love to see Aiden go for 3,500 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. It'd be a fantastic year for a young quarterback. And it'd be something to build on for a fourth-round rookie or a fourth-round second-year player. That'd be something to build on. But yeah, man, when I look at this, I don't know, this schedule's brutal, man. I look at it and I see 6 wins, and it sucks. That's the thing with this Raiders team this year. They could be a 6-win team. They could easily be a 10-win team or 11-win team. It just depends on where the ball rolls and how they continue to play. Will they stay healthy? There's just a lot of caveats with this team. It doesn't help that the entirety of the NFL, and Larry, you could tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I think the NFL is getting better as a whole. I think the parity in the NFL is probably where they've always wanted it to be. Yeah, you're still going to have some stinkers. You're still going to have some teams that struggle. But we're now at the point where any of those teams could beat a really good team at any given week. And that's been consistent over the last half decade or so. So Raiders have an uphill climb. I hope Aiden O'Connell rises to the challenge. You have a ton of weapons. Your defense is absolutely owning training camp so far, according to all the reports from the different reporters or feeds in Las Vegas. It's optimistic, man. And that's something we've been crying for a long time, is a really, really good defense. We're going to close the show here, guys. Really good defense is something we've been looking for in Las Vegas, right? Oakland, Las Vegas. It's something we were crying about for almost 2 decades. The Raiders were ranked, before last year, the Raiders were ranked the worst defense in the last decade. Okay? It's kind of crazy how in 2 years that can completely change. It's absolutely nuts. But now you have to find that counterbalance on offense. Can you run the ball effectively? Can you be efficient on short yardage? Can you create more short yardage situations on offense? Can you get Davante Adams the ball? Like, that's got to be huge. Can you find a good mesh between Davante Adams, Brock Bowers, Kobe Myers, Michael Mayer, Zeus, handing him the ball, Alexander Madison, new running back out of Minnesota, who's got a bright spot? Can this offensive line gel together before training camp ends? There's a lot of ifs, man. The offensive side of the football is going to have a lot of questions, unfortunately. But it's one of those situations where, like, we could see some serious growth. And imagine the story, man. Like, the Niners saw this a couple years ago, right? Where they had a couple down years because of injuries and things like that. All of a sudden, Brock Purdy stepped up, and they haven't missed since, right? To me, I thought they should have won the Super Bowl. Kyle Shanahan just crapped his pants. If we're being real, Kyle Shanahan just crapped his pants and stopped giving the ball to Christian McCaffrey for whatever reason. We could see that type of success with Aiden O'Connell. We just have to call the right plays in the right situations against the right teams. It's that simple. Mismatches, guys. That's the way football is. But can we figure it out? It's been 20 years. Can the Raiders finally figure it out? I feel like AP has a different aura going on right now, man. And it really means something to this team. I truly do. I think it means something to the team. This is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Kayle Henderson. You guys can get at us on Twitter at SinCity_IESR, at Kayle_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. This is hashtag IE Vegas. Take a look at us next Tuesday, right? 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we are going to show you a little sample of the whiteboard. I'm going to have it programmed, ready to go. I have a feeling I'm going to have to draw it with my mouse, unfortunately. But I also seen that there's a projection system where I can pull it up on my iPad and it just reflects up here too. So we'll see if we can get that done, because I have a nice little stylus pin ready to go with that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good add to our show, and I think it's going to draw some attention, man, because I want to get them 500 plus people in our chat, in our viewers. Why not? We could do it. We have a great fan base. There's no reason why that can't happen. Seriously. As always, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next Tuesday. This is the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As always, love, peace, and hair grease, folks.